Friends, today we're gonna make a super easy leftover turkey soup. This can also be chicken, this can be anything you want. And I wanna melt some butter to start just to get the aromatics going. So instead of olive oil, we're using butter because it adds more flavor. This is a very simple, pretty much chicken soup, but with turkey in this case, because we're after the holidays. We might have leftover turkey. You know, I am someone that thinks, why do we only get turkey around Thanksgiving? That is something we should have all the time because it's so, so good. Now, what I do want to do is make sure we start with a base layer of onion. I'm gonna admit, the skin does not come off well, so let's just make sure I can get it off. Sometimes, if you bruise an onion on the backside, it's kind of like garlic where it will release a little bit better. See how that comes off in a little bit bigger piece? That's better. You know, sometimes nature works with you well, sometimes it doesn't. What we're gonna do though is just quickly dice the onion. I still like to cross-hatch mine. I know not everyone does, because there are those horizontal lines and layers in an onion, but I'm just gonna slice it up. And the thing is, I can hear the butter starting to melt, which is exactly what I want. It's a riff really on a chicken soup I would have grown up with. We're not gonna use noodles in this one. We're gonna use couscous because I think it adds a different texture element. I also like how quickly the couscous cooks. But all the flavors are gonna be really simple, meaning they all have to be good. So we're just gonna make sure we add flavor all along the way, and that starts with that butter and the onion sauteing together. So once I have this all chopped up, we're just gonna grab it, scoop it all up, and put it right into that butter. This is beginning to soften. I do wanna make sure, always season at every layer. Add some salt, add a little bit of pepper, because if you layer as you cook, it's gonna be so much more well-seasoned in the end. And you can see they're beginning to soften, but we want them to get translucent. So while they're doing that, we're gonna actually get a little bit of garlic. And this is now, you saw, sometimes it's hard to get skin off of onion. Usually what I did to that onion, I do to my garlic, which is just, I like to cut the end off. So I'm gonna use like a nice hefty 3 cloves here. Now again, if you don't like garlic, you leave that out. That's the thing about any of these recipes and foods, you make them work for you, but then I always just take the side of my knife and give it a whack. You can do it with your hand too, you could do it with a cast iron kettle, but you see how it just bruises it and that skin falls right off. That's really with any allium, any bulb, that's gonna be a really quick way to get that skin off. And I do grow all my own garlic, so usually it's extra big, beautiful, tons of flavor, which is what I want, but I do know some people are a little bit adverse to it. So what I like to do is just run my knife through it quickly. When it's smashed like that, I feel like it chops up much easier because it lays more flat than on the counter. It's not flying all over. And then once I get it a little bit like that, I like to just go really quickly and just kind of quickly chop it up more fine. See how nice and simple that is? It just really quickly, it does it, and that's what I really like. But this is a rough soup, so if you don't get it perfectly fine, don't worry about it. You can do really whatever works for you. But now with that garlic, I'm gonna have that done, put that aside. We're gonna get our vegetables ready. So we have celery, and again, chopping up into smaller pieces. I like to keep it a nice size so I see it, but it's gonna still soften because we're gonna actually cook this in the stock. So it's going to fully cook, it's gonna release that flavor, which is what we want. And then we're gonna do some carrot. And carrot I like to go heavier on because I like a lot of carrot when it comes to this. So if it's a big piece, I'll try to just cut it even with the other sizes I'm gonna do, group them together, and then just chop them into nice bite-sized pieces. But I do them at a point where during that cooking, I don't want them to turn to mush. I want them to maintain some texture. So I'm keeping them a certain size, as you can tell. It's absolutely perfect. That they're gonna still have that nice little bit of fresh bite. So I'm gonna take my garlic, we're gonna throw that in. I like that to cook about 30 seconds to a minute before I put the vegetables, just to soften its flavor. So we're gonna grab all of the carrots and the celery. We're gonna put them right in because that garlic now is fragrant. I can smell it. Always just wait till you smell it. We're gonna grab a few herbs. I have some rosemary, gonna keep it all together so I can pull it out. A beautiful sprig of thyme. Again, the leaves will fall off, that's great. And then some leaves of bay. Now, if you can, always buy fresh bay. It's gonna have more flavor. I have 1 plant or 2, actually I have 3, that I keep all winter, put them inside. I can grab them, but you can buy fresh now in a grocery store too, which is why I love to do it. And then we're gonna come over and we're just gonna make sure these coat in everything, really in that butter. With everything coated, I do always like to put in what I would call a secret weapon in the kitchen, and it's a Parmesan rind. So if you don't know, when you get a hunk of Parmesan, sometimes it comes, sometimes it doesn't, with rind. This is literally what we're talking about. If it doesn't come with that, you can buy rind at most cheese sections in a grocery store, and it's pretty cheap because what do you do with a rind? Well, I find them to be liquid gold, so I save them, I put them in a freezer, I just put them in like a plastic bag, a silicone bag. And I like to then infuse things with this rind because it has so much flavor still left in it. It's just gonna go right into whatever you're making. So sauces, soups, we're gonna put it right in here. And then we're gonna put our turkey stock. Now, if you don't have turkey stock, you could do, of course, a good chicken stock or homemade. I like to use turkey stock since we're gonna be using leftover turkey. I'm gonna put this in. We wanna let it come to a simmer, and then it is just gonna slowly cook until those vegetables are beginning to tenderize. The vegetables have been simmering away, so they're just at that crisp, tender stage, and now I'm just getting the turkey ready. Now this is leftover white meat, dark meat. There's some pieces of breast. This is my cowboy butter turkey, which, let me tell you, is a really good turkey. So it has a lot of flavor, but again, this can really be with anything you maybe have. If you do roast chicken once a week and have some of that left, or if you put some things in the freezer after Thanksgiving, like turkey, it's a great thing to use it. Now, if it has any skin, I discard that, just leave that. Otherwise, I like nice big pieces, kind of a rough shred, but something that's really kind of nice and hearty because that's the point of this soup. You know, it's a broth-based soup, but there's no point in not having it be delicious and hearty. So I'm putting all those pieces of meat right in there, and then we can grab both the meat and the couscous. So if you don't use couscous, it is a pasta. It is a small pearled couscous. Do you see how pretty that is? Look at those little pieces. And they cook really quickly, and they have a great texture, which I like. So this has been simmering with those vegetables, and it's really just slowly kind of been, just see those little bubbles coming, just been cooking. So we're gonna add in the turkey, which is going to just get really warm through with the couscous, which cooks in really no time. So in 10 minutes, we're gonna have a soup that's ready to go. This has been simmering and it just perfectly cooks that couscous. And this is so hearty and homey. I mean, look at that beautiful, just look at this. Look at all that couscous, the turkey. It's just a really beautiful, warm soup, and that's what I love. So when I serve this, I would always like to do maybe a little bit of parsley on top, which sounds kind of just like a pointless garnish. It's not, it has flavor. If you get good kind of, I like flat leaf parsley personally. That's what I would go for. I think it has a lot of flavor then. So you're gonna get those nice big pieces of vegetable, the pieces of turkey or chicken if you so choose. It really just depends on what you want. Some of that broth, because for me, that's the really comforting and restorative part. Always a little bit, just a little bit of green. And then I like to put big shards of parm, so I will get out my peeler and just do nice big pieces because it feels gourmet, right? It's I don't know, sometimes just making yourself feel special, I think, and doing something that instantly what I like is that Parmesan. I was smelling it in the soup from the rind, but when you hit the kind of at the end there, those pieces, they just kind of melt and warm. Especially on a day like today, when the wind has turned, it's getting cold and chilly. This is what you want to come home to. This is what you want to come home after work to. This is what, if you're having guests over and you're tired of cooking, you want to make and everyone's just going to be happy because it's delicious, it's warming, and guess what? It was easy. And that's really what food should be. Good food does not have to be complicated, especially after we make so much food around the holidays when we're gathering. This is something you can make, not really think much about, and that's the best part. So share this around so other people can make it too, because that's the point of good food. Check my website, wyseguide.com, for this recipe and every other recipe that's on there. There's a lot for you to pick from. Enjoy.